Want to introduce our speaker here this evening to share some comments with you. Jean Payne has been very much a part of the industry in the state of Illinois for many, many years. She's with the Illinois Fertilizer and Chemical Association. We want to cover some topics of interest, and she's prepared to answer all of our serious questions, and maybe you'll have some too. So, Jean, come on up if you would. Give her a warm welcome. Jean Payne. Come right into the hot seat here. Come into my spacious studio. How are you doing?
I've been in the hot seat many times.
I'm sure you have. You just completed a very successful Maggie show over at Bloomington. Tell us about it.
So August is kind of the equipment show for Illinois. We put on a show for the ag retail industry. So I work for the ag retailers in Illinois. People like Ealer Brothers, Gifford Ag, Align IFS, Helena. We put on a custom application show where we actually bring all the new sprayers and floaters in, and all the guys that do the operations, the people who apply the fertilizers and chemicals on your fields. This show is for them. They get to drive all the new equipment. They get to go back to their boss at the fertilizer plant and say, if I'm going to spend 12 hours a day in a floater, this is the one I want. And so it's really a great ride and drive show, and we really try to treat those guys and honor our operators, because the success of your crops depends a lot on the job that they do in the cab of that vehicle.
When you take a look at the equipment, and you can see it at the Farm Progress show, some of it there, since I didn't get to the Maggie show, it looks like we're in the midst of sprayer wars. I mean, there's a lot of competition, and they're really trying to come up with the latest equipment so that grower, that producer that maybe wants to buy the equipment will be able to have their own and be able to respond to their own needs on their farm. But it's very competitive now, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, and they're $500,000 pieces of equipment, and they're very expensive to operate. They're very complicated to operate, and we have a new generation of people coming in agriculture that did not grow up on a farm. And so in Bloomington, just west of town, our organizations worked with another organization to bring an applicator training center. So now we have an obstacle course for applicators and floaters. It's a 3-day course. It teaches them how to mix chemicals, how to do the math, how to read the weather maps, take the records, how to trim the fields, how to enter the fields, how to deal with subdivisions. I mean, this is training that we've never done for our industry, but we have to. Our members used to hire kids that grew up on a farm and have been around this equipment. Now we're hiring people that maybe want to be in agriculture but have had no exposure to this. And when you're dealing with a $500,000 piece of equipment and the urban public expects you to keep the pesticides where they need to be and the fertilizers, it's a big responsibility. So we have to invest in training for these people, and we are doing that.
Dike Amba, talk a bit about it and what you expect to happen over the course of the winter here over the next few months.
Okay, so this is going to be up to you guys and the fertilizer and chemical industry, and we need your help. We had 240 official misuse complaints on Dike Amba in Illinois. I think we all know there were more than 240 incidents out there. 240 were reported. That's what the Illinois Department of Ag has to investigate. Now, that may not sound like a lot, but typically in a year, we might get 100 for the entire state of Illinois. Now we're over 360. So it doesn't look good for the people who are already critical of pesticide use. So as we go into 2018, I want you all to realize that this label expires in November of 2018. So if we don't prove next year that we can do a better job of keeping this on the target crop, the soybeans, then this could easily be taken away, and then we'll have 10 million acres of this technology out there and no herbicide to legally use on it. That's what we're up against. So our organization is taking this extremely seriously. We're working with Monsanto and BASF to try to figure out what went wrong this year. There was success with Dike Amba this year, Max, and there were some unsuccessful things. And the unsuccessful part of it is what we're trying to figure out. Because when you're an operator and you've got 20 years of experience in a pesticide floater and you have damage to a neighbor's Liberty Link soybeans, it's unacceptable for our industry, and it should be unacceptable for everyone. So when you buy your Extend soybeans this winter and you plan on planting them, you guys, as farmers, you could really help the pesticide applicators out a lot by thinking about where you're going to plant those beans. If you intend to use Dike Amba on them and they're right next to a Liberty Link field or a non-GMO field or an organic soybean field, that is extremely problematic. And you may find professional applicators that are going to be unwilling next year to do those fields. So if you can plant them next to corn, talk to your farmers and group your Extend soybeans together. Get them away from the sensitive crops, because we can't really answer the 20% of the drift or the inversion or the volatility or whatever you want to call it. We can't explain it. We don't really have a handle on it yet, Max. So this is going to take a lot of communication. And this label is very difficult. There's very few days when you can legally spray this product. And for me and KJ, my colleague in the audience who does the lobbying in Springfield, this is the future of the Illinois pesticide industry that we face next year. Do you know how easy it is for the people who don't like pesticide use to say, look at this disaster in Illinois agriculture. We didn't handle this right. We've hurt other farmers. We've hurt homeowners. We've hurt specialty crops. So easy for them to take that to the next step and either ban it or restrict it or make you, Max, the sky's the limit. And that's what the battle that we would have. They expect us to do it right, and I know that we can do it right, but it is going to take a lot of cooperation next year. We could have 5 million acres of Extend soybeans planted in Illinois. We only sprayed about 500,000 acres this year. There could be 5 million acres sprayed next year.
Weren't there some instances when it wasn't just right adjacent to the field where that drift was over a considerable distance?
Yeah, so I think of those of us, and you guys farmers, Dike Amba is Dike Amba, right? I think we all know the nature of this product. I think the new products are better, but they're still not perfect. And the later it gets in the year, the hotter it gets outside. It's not ever meant to be a rescue treatment. It's meant to be an early applied product when the weather is cool, when the other soybeans are not up, when we can control it better. When it gets into late June and July, that's when we had a problem. The vast majority of complaints happened as the summer got longer into it. And if you see what's happened down in Arkansas, that's going to set the precedent for those farmers in the South. I'm not sure what they're going to do, Max, but don't think that that's going to stay in Arkansas. It could easily happen here if we don't do a better job next year.
Let's talk about some of the new technology that's out there that's coming along. Share some thoughts in that regard. What's happening?
Well, as far as herbicide use, well, there's not a lot new coming, unfortunately. I think 6-7 years down the road, we sort of hear that the chemical companies are coming up with some new modes of action, and I sure hope that's true. And I think as you watch the mergers between Bayer and Monsanto and Dow and DuPont, the reason that's happening is that they want to invest in chemicals again. For so long, we've invested in biotech, and that's been a great thing. But we've sort of let the chemistry innovation slip to the wayside. So we bring back a product like Dike Amba that's 40 years old. Where's the new technology to handle the pig weeds and the water hemp?
So the mergers aren't that bad. The chemical companies have been telling us that it's a good aspect of their getting together, but you would argue that's probably true.
I think it's true from the standpoint it costs $200 million sometimes to bring a new chemical to the marketplace.
And what, 10 or 12 years?
Yes, a long time. And so when you have great German innovation like you see with Bayer and BASF and getting into this and wanting to be chemistry minded again, along with biotech, you can't always stop mergers and consolidations. I think you have to respect them for what they are. And if their ability to leverage those resources and bring this new technology to the marketplace is going to benefit agriculture.
Wanted to ask you about fertilizer problems, potentially from the tropical storms. There's so much in terms of assets down in central Florida that could be exposed.
Our phosphate mines are there. There's a lot of nitrogen production in the Donaldsville, Florida area. I guess that remains to be seen, but the good news, Max, is that we've increased nitrogen production. The new nitrogen plant in Weaver, Iowa is at production, is shipping UAN and ammonia into Illinois. We have more production in the upper Midwest. So I don't predict that there's going to be a big bubble in nitrogen because of the storm. You guys are going to see the lowest nitrogen prices for your corn than you've probably seen in 12 years. And I think that's very good news. There you go.
There's one thing, yeah.
And that's because the industry is reinvested. We dismantled our ammonia plants 15 years ago because the price of natural gas in the United States was so uncompetitive. We had to import fertilizer. Now, because of our United States energy policy and the fracking and the natural gas, we are the prime producer of nitrogen, and that's a huge food security issue for the U.S. And it's good for farmers. It's good for the fertilizer industry, too, because guess what? The local fertilizer dealers, their margins on fertilizer are the same whether it's $900 a ton or $200 a ton. Now, the manufacturers don't like $200 a ton fertilizer, but it's the marketplace. And so I think for the fertilizer dealers, this is good because your local guys don't have to shell out, millions of dollars for their fertilizer inventory. It helps them. So there is some good news in the fertilizer industry.
See, that's why I brought you back up. I knew there had to be a good reason. Thanks, Gene. Appreciate it so much.